Hello, and welcome to McKinley Connects. I'm Grace Sanchez, and today I'm very excited to have Monica Duran in the studio with me. Hello, Monica. How are you?
Hi, Grace. How you doing?
Good. It's so nice to have you with us. Thank you for carving time.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, let's start off. Let's start off with you sharing a little bit about yourself, and we want to learn about your business.
Awesome. So, I guess I would have to say to start off, a little bit about myself is my husband and I will be together 25 years this coming January. For anybody who's married knows that has not been an easy task.
Accomplishment.
Uh, and I have three phenomenal, amazing kids. I have a 35-year-old who made me a grandma. My grandson is 12.
Wow.
And I have a 27-year-old who is in that amazing phase of what do I do with my life as I run around like Chicken Little. And then I have a 15-year-old who's a sophomore in high school
Mm,
and is the most amazing kid I know at his age level. And I don't say that because I'm his mom, but it's just kind of phenomenal when you have a human. And I know that this is, I run it as a joke, but I truly believe that how we show up as parents in our face of life is how our children turn out, right?
I agree.
And my son having this new version of me as a more calm and
Mm.
ready mom, he's just a delight. My
Wow,
oldest and my youngest are like 20 years apart. So,
that's amazing. I was going to say you're the youngest looking grandma, but
yeah. And then we have three phenomenal pets. We have our mixed pit in lab. Her
mm,
name is Shuri. She's 3 years old. Phenomenal. Another one that's, for anybody who doesn't have pets for whatever reason, they are just such a fresh cup of water, like they say, right? To
yes,
come home to. And then we have two cats that were born in our home, to a feral cat that we picked up from the street.
that's amazing.
So yeah, that's us.
You got a full group there.
We do, we do.
Amazing. Well, tell us a little bit about your business. And I see your title is founder, so you started this company.
I did. So it's honor your legacy via end of life planning.
Mm,
And the service that we provide is to assist families in creating what I call a legacy roadmap.
mm,
And what that is truly instructions on family so that family can follow when the time comes, right? Because I think for all of us, one thing that's guaranteed is truly in America, taxes and the time of expiration, right? We all
absolutely.
have that. And it's a difficult kind of thing to process through and accept. But, for whatever reason, my lived experiences have given me that. I almost call it a privilege because I'm ready for it.
Mm,
My mom passed away when I was 13, and having to come to a place as an adult that a plan was not placed for me. There was nothing in place. And I don't think that parents do it out of a place of, I don't care. It's more of, I never thought about it. Why would I think that, you know? And then fast forward to, I lost two siblings, two brothers, one
mm,
at the age of 17 and I was 21. And my other brother passed away when I was 39 and he was 30.
mm.
The difference between the two is not just the age difference, but more than anything, with my older brother at 30, we had a week to plan. He got sick and we had a week, right? With my younger brother, we were the family prior to GoFundMe's with the posters at the corner asking for donations, doing car washes, selling food, whatever we needed to do. And unfortunately, because the funeral service industry can at time of death, it's not only more expensive, but it's so chaotic and painful. With
Absolutely.
Junior, it was so like I'm not saying it was fun, but there was moments of being able to. He told us exactly what he wanted. This is what I want. This is what I want. Every so often, he'd drop an FU to us, and I remember the first time it was like, what do I do? I'm not gonna be able to tell you FU next week, so I gotta tell you now.
Wow.
It
That's
allows space for that, right? Because it doesn't feel so when there's an acceptance behind, our time of death, that we're all going to go. It's
so
just
true.
nothing we can do about it, right? So, excuse me. Fast forward to my brother-in-law. I apologize. I have like a really small throat, and all of a sudden,
Your time. Take your time.
my brother-in-law, excuse me, who is under the age of 50,
Mm.
is currently doing dialysis. And wow, that just really went left on me. Let me mute you for like a second and let me cough.
No worries.
Break time for both of us.
Exactly.
So, my brother in law, who's under the age of 50, has been doing dialysis for more than a few years.
Mm.
He's been getting sick more often. And on a day that he was at the hospital, and I was just calling to see, hey, I'm going to come visit. Do you need anything? And what I got instead of a list of this is what I need or want was a breakdown. He broke down and he asked me to please promise me that we wouldn't leave our sister, alone. She did not want to discuss, what's going to happen at
Hmm.
his time of death. Crying, he was falling apart.
Wow.
So I'm like, hold that thought. I'll be right back. I went and got pen and paper, and I
Hmm.
started going down the list of questions of what would you like? What do you want to be buried or cremated? Do you have an idea of where you would like to be laid to rest? Are
Mm.
there any preferences? Are there any last wishes? Do you want me to tell Elizabeth, which is my sister, anything? Are there messages from my nieces and nephew? It just kind of calmed him down.
Mm.
And it's like I told him, at any time you pass, I know what you need and what
Mm.
you wanted. There will not be, because something about not knowing what your loved one need, what they would have preferred.
Hmm.
You do the best that you can, but you end up with the modicum of guilt because you didn't know. How do I not know? Right? Which is what happened to us, when my first brother passed away. You're
Mm.
not having those conversations. Why would you? So that's where Honor Your Legacy came from.
Wow.
From my lived experiences and seeing my brother in law and my sister have this real need for the conversation. And again, because of my lived experiences, death is not something I'm scared of. It's something that I know someday will come. And what matters is the in between. My now 15-year-old, at 12, we were passing by. And these are the moments as parents that if we pick them at the perfect time, it won't feel dreadful or heavy because you don't just ask your child, hey, do you want to be cremated or buried someday? No. Happened to pass by a pretty bad accident. The truck was flipped over. There was family outside the truck. Nobody looked in distress, so that means everybody was okay. Yes, scary moment. And as we drove by, and my son and I were talking about it, I said, you know what? This kind of brings something for. It's bringing something up for me. I
Hmm.
said, and I always pray 95 because that'll make you 50. I will have met your wife, your children, hopefully. I would have seen you graduate college, like all the things that are supposed to happen.
Mm.
But if our journey is supposed to be different, then I have to lay you to rest.
Mm.
What what do you think you would be, what do you think you'd prefer? I'd love to be able to honor your wishes.
Wow.
And I said, do you think you'd like to be cremated or buried? I said, for me, I want cremation just because I can spread myself in all sorts of different directions. I said, but what do you think? And he said, well, the thought of being buried, I don't want a bunch of animals eating me and insects and whatever. Please cremate me. And
Wow,
that was that. And we just moved on to the next conversation. It doesn't need to be heavy. And that's the fear that's behind the conversation.
that's powerful.
Yeah. So the fluidity comes from my lived experiences, obviously, right? And the my mission truly is to normalize the conversation of death.
Let's
That
talk a little bit. I'm intrigued. I really am because I actually am one that likes to be a planner and is working on making sure that, things are in order because I think that's an expression of love to your family, to be able to not leave things in disarray. But let's talk a little bit about the misconception of your work. I don't know if it's just fear or confusion. Let's unpack that for me. What do you find is sometimes people maybe just push this away, or is that common, or is that just
it's
something that maybe I'm thinking?
extremely common. I mean, if you think about it, I think most of us, if you have not had the lived experience, and even if you think about it, even for me, with my sister, same home, right? Same, some of the same experiences,
Mm,
but different approach. Death is scary.
mm,
Death is scary, period, for anyone. Because it says, I will no longer be here. I will no longer get to participate. So there's a finality to it that, it's uncomfortable,
mhm,
right? But I think that the clients that I've helped so far, the families that I've had the privilege to help, these are the two things that come up. One, this has been at the back of my mind and I just didn't know where to start.
mm,
That's one. Two, once we're done with the entire process, there was this one gentleman that's going to be, I think, the story that I'll never forget. That my interaction with him, he was upset that his wife brought me into the home because
mm,
she's the one that was interested in setting everything up. They had children,
mhm,
and their children were 16 and 14. She's like, he's the main, income earner in our home. There was just a lot of things that she was concerned about. When I came in, he was he was mean. He was mean. He was apprehensive. And again, I recognized the fear behind the conversation. But once we started talking, once we started unpacking, asking all the questions, his lived experiences, his connection to death, which is usually that's where our fear comes from. It's
mm,
our connection to previous experience or somebody who's never had an experience and it's just like, I don't want to even think about it, right? Long story short, when we were done, he said to me, I cannot be more grateful to you. He
wow.
said, you took off a load off my back that I had been contemplating for a long time, but I just didn't want to deal with it. He
Mm,
said, right now, I feel like I can go and do anything.
wow.
Nothing can hold me back because my kids would be taken care of, right?
Mm,
So the misconception is the fear behind the conversation, right?
absolutely.
But the privilege behind it is having the conversation and
Hmm.
going from there. It's sort of like, what's the saying? Even if you're scared, do it anyway.
Exactly.
This
Exactly.
is one of those moments where not only do we come out at the end from a much better place and more ready for life, all of it, everything life has to give, but with the privilege of giving our families the privilege of mourning in peace because nobody should have to be running around trying to figure out how are we going to do this, how are we going to, because when there's an accident and the doctor comes out, they don't ask, where is this person going to be buried or laid to rest.
Right.
They ask who's picking up the body. Therefore, your funeral services are the most important things you should be worried about. Yes, your plot is important, where you'll end up, but your services, that is the most
Mm,
difficult, dreadful, painful, emotional roller coaster. I remember with my youngest brother, there was so much running. There was just running, um, trying to figure out where do we go, what's nice.
Mm.
I remember the gentleman that helped us said, um, "This is the last thing you get to do for your brother. You need to go big.
Wow. Mm.
People take advantage of you, and big we went. Right? I don't remember. I always remember that when it all came to be true
Mm.
was when I can hear the pounding of the machine that presses down the dirt.
Mhm.
That was the first time that I had to accept that he was gone
Mhm.
because I had not given myself that privilege
Yeah.
while we were planning and figuring out where we're getting the money and what do we do with this and
Mm.
all of that, buying his outfit because now we have it's
Mm.
it's really it's pain that can be um, that's not necessary, that we can do this ahead of time, you know? So
I love that. That leads to a second question that I have, and that is from your story that you shared about the gentleman, it seems like you help alleviate some stress and anxiety. It's that unknown, that thing that nobody wants to talk about. But what I took away from your story is that he just felt like something had been lifted. And I'm curious, is that what you find from your clients after you help them? Is just like this, now I know that's done type thing. Is that common?
that's been every single time. The only people that have not expressed that is the ones that have left it at a standstill.
Mm.
And the irony of not completing the process is now you're on limbo. And now you're like, it's a repetition of like, oh, I have this thing. So it even becomes more stressful. And the reason why I say that is because I had this one client that kept pushing it off and pushing it off. And I said, let's have coffee. Let's not even, I just kind of want to, because this is somebody I knew. This is somebody I had a connection with. This wasn't a client that I met. It was,
Hmm.
and her thing was, I feel that if I do this, I'm somewhat inviting it. It's something that it just feels like it scares me
Kind of taboo, like, oh, I'm doing
extremely,
it now, death's gonna come get me or something,
extremely.
and,
The
and it's
irony,
mind.
yes, the irony of it is that her mom left everything ready for her and her daughter and her sister.
That's
And,
amazing.
and to me, it was okay. Granted, yes, there's the fear of this invitation, quote unquote. But to me, your mom left everything ready. Why do you think she did that?
'Cause she loved him.
And that's exactly what she said. She
Yeah.
loved us and she didn't want us to have to go through the pain. I say, you have babies, and you have babies. Your babies are 8, 10, and 12.
Mm.
You're young, you know? I said, but time is not, something I talk about, something I put in my presentations, not when I'm meeting with clients, but if I'm speaking somewhere. I like to pull a chart with um, what's it called? Statistics
Hmm.
on ages of, deaths in America. It's from newborns until hundreds, right? Everybody in between, all of us are going to go. And the irony of it is that the highest amount of deaths are between 25 and 38, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
And that's because that's when we're doing most. That's when we're living most. That's when we're being reckless. And, the younger generation, the younger under that, yeah, it's a high amount of death, but it's not the same, right?
interesting.
And at the end, it's It's something that we can't avoid. She did end up setting everything up, um, and the comment came.
Mm.
I didn't know. I did not expect to feel this amount of peace
Mm.
from doing this.
That's
And furthermore, she actually talked to her babies about it. And
wow.
she told them, "This is how much I love you. And because I love you so much, I want to make sure that you know everything is set up."
Mm.
Because something that happened to me is at 13, my life changed forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the concept of death yet. That
Right.
was my first introduction.
Mm.
So for your entire life to change from one day to another, it taught me that I had to do this with my kids. I never wanted my children, and my husband would sometimes tell me, "Why do you why do you have to, like, it's scary?" And I'm like, "Listen, it may be scary to you because you've not lost anyone that you
Right.
dearly love, because he just hadn't." I said, "But I don't ever want my children to feel what I felt. And I rather prepare them from a place of comfort than from a place of fear." Stephen
Absolutely.
was 10 when my biological mom passed away.
Mm.
I was raised by my grandmother till the age of 12. I never met my mother prior to that. I met her at the age of 13
Wow.
because that's, kind of what happens, right? Um, and I lived with my biological mother for 4 years and moved on. Her and I kind of settled our differences as adults. I'm really grateful for that. But it was still just, it's my biological mother. It's who brought me into this world. I'm grateful. I was grateful for that. Um, my son was in the room with us when she passed.
Wow.
And I think that when you've lost somebody that's very dear to you, almost everyone that passes after that, there's a connection
Mm.
automatically, right? Um, well, my son, my 10-year-old son, said to me, and he went around the room telling my siblings this: "Dying is part of living, and
Mm.
grandma has now moved on to her other phase. She's
Wow.
with God now." That's my 10-year-old.
Wisdom,
My
wise.
son, like, he understands it and he's not scared of it. To me, that's a really proud thing. And my husband later was like, I don't even know how you did that.
Well, I think it's the wisdom and it's, you being comfortable with something and then that being passed through. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Monica, for sharing all of that and for doing what you're doing. You're impacting lives and the next generation, which does move us into you just recently attended our women's conference. I would like to ask you what moved you to want to participate with us? What was it about the work that we do at McKinley that really you feel resonates with kind of your values and who you are? Tell me a little bit about that.
I have to say that I may get a little bit emotional. I
Mm.
was raised to be of service to everyone and anyone. It did to me. It doesn't matter what, right? But because I lost my mom at such a young age,
Mm-hmm.
I can understand anybody in that predicament, regardless of whether it's to death or to the loss of a parent because of whatever circumstance they may be going.
Mm.
I can completely understand how that child feels so alone, um, just lost, right? So
Mm.
for me, your organization is so impactful. My son has already volunteered. My daughter has volunteered at Christmas events. I need them to know, because I know that these kids, they every event you have, you're letting them know whatever your circumstance is, you're still loved and cared for. You're
Mm.
seen,
Mm-hmm.
because you're seen by people that don't know you. That means you are valuable, you are important,
So
you
true.
matter. So that is why I attended, and that is why every opportunity I have, I make sure to participate ever since I heard about you guys.
Oh, thank you so much, Monica. Well, for anyone who's listening to us and maybe didn't get the opportunity to be with us this year, would you share a highlight? What was like something that you took away that night or something that you experienced that you said, wow, this was really cool? Or just share with us.
I think the best part about the event for me was all the people that attend together.
Mm,
Because all of us are strangers. We don't all know each other. I mean, some of us may come together, the majority of us. So it's a very beautiful thing to see a bunch of strangers coming together to celebrate each other, but
yeah,
more than anything, be there to fundraise, to assist, to serve in whatever platform we're able to. So it's a beautiful thing to be surrounded by humans that care, about humans that see beyond their family, their story.
true,
So
true.
that
That was
is,
always the vision, Monica. That was our vision when we started our women's conference was to bring people together that have one common denominator and goal, and that is to help others, especially help those that have experienced, trauma and loss, and they're young kids, most of our youth, but obviously we help families as well. But thank you for that. I love the way that you put that. As we close today, Monica, I would like to ask you if you had a message for someone who's watching us today, either about your business and what you do, or, end of life planning, or about McKinley, what would you want to say to someone who's, viewing us today?
I would have to say that whether it's McKinley or an organization like McKinley, if we teach our babies how to serve and how to see everyone the way that they want to be seen, then our world can be very different, right? So if we learn how to uh, teach people how to treat you, right, in
Mhm,
the sense that if we approach life as a whole from a place of I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated,
mhm.
right, and we can teach our children that by serving, um, that that in itself would be amazing. And to add to that, I would have to say regarding my business is remember that it's never too early to plan. It doesn't matter what phase in your life you are. We all have, even people who are single, everybody has to plan for themselves so that their honors on, so that their legacy can be honored, right? And
Absolutely.
so that, especially for those of us with families, that we can love them even past our expiration date, that we can show them
Powerful.
this is how much I loved you because you were seen, you were loved, you were acknowledged, and I was always there. And even to the last moment.
So beautiful. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how would they find you? What is your website?
My website is www.honoryourlegacy.com. And my email address is Monica Duran at Honor Your Legacy. And my phone number is 626-494-1084. And social media, I'm not great at it yet, but it's still Honor Your Legacy on Instagram and Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, we're definitely going to give you a plug because you've been such a great supporter of our work. And Monica, I am inspired. Thank you so much.
Thank
Don't be
you.
surprised if you hear from me as well.
That's amazing, Grace. Thank you. Thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you. Of course. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.